Welcome to the inaugural episode of and Michael Talk. We're starting fresh on here on the one and only MJ YouTube channel, where I think it just going with a simpler title where just me and you talk about whatever and just
Yeah.
oh, I'm kind of wanting to do things now, just kind of do things simpler. And we've been talking about this for a while now, about talking about video games and like our favorite video games that we play and like our favorite video game moments that we've like experienced while playing and even just like watching others play and stuff like that. So, um, what system do you play on?
Um, I do play on multiple ones. I play on my laptop, and at the moment, I'm actually playing my Xbox 360, but I plan to get the PlayStation 4
Okay.
because there's a lot of stuff that I need to get, that I want to get, that I have to get.
Right. I've been strictly Sony from the beginning. Like my dad bought me a PlayStation 1 and then I've just been Sony ever since. And I've had other systems. I've had the original Xbox. I've had a 360. I only bought the 360 for one game, and that was because of I wanted to play Dead Rising so bad.
A Capcom game. I
Yeah,
like where this is.
I wanted to play that one so bad, and I mean, and I think officially Sega was my first official gaming system, and like so Sonic and Knuckles was like I think that was my first. I think Sonic 2 was I think was my first official video game that I owned. That was like mine that me and my cousin didn't share or something like that. So,
Yeah.
um, oh, man, it's just I. Do you have a rich gaming history, or do you just like, or do you kind of have like a starting point where everything kind of?
Um, yeah, I would say I have a starting point. I remember one birthday one year. Um, I believe it was 1999. In fact, it's really weird that I remember it. It was Christmas, and I got the PlayStation 1, and it came with two games. A Bug's Life,
Oh, I had that.
yeah, it's a very good game even to this day. And I also got a strategy game called June 2000.
Okay.
So, and I wasn't aware of the movie or anything at the time. Um, I think I must have spent more hours in June than Bugs Life because I think it was my first strategy game as well. It, I got into that and it was I think that's how I got into strategy games. I just found it so fun. Like I love the colours of the sand. Like, I was young, so it was very simple to me. And I had that for a good 8 or 9 years after getting that for Christmas, and so I did play it for a very long time. And yeah, to this day, like I've even like played imported versions of June 2000, and
Oh,
I still enjoy it to this day. So yeah, so
I I
it,
re- I remember Bugs Life being kind of a hard game.
the bird, we all remember the bird.
Yeah, yeah, that's where I always got stuck at. And I mean, I had like I the question I asked
It
you
was
like
a hard game.
it
It
was
was.
yeah it was like this kind of ties into what I was asking. It's like even though I played games when I was a kid and with my cousin and just with everybody else, but like there was really kind of a moment where gaming became a little bit more prominent in my nerdy life or whatever, or like um, mine was when the GameCube came out, and that's when I really started like beating games, renting games like really more frequently, and because I'm a movie guy through and through, but like I've had a PlayStation 1, 2, 3. Like I've had them all, and but there was kind of like I said, like the moment where I really started to really truly play video games was when Resident Evil 4 came out. It's
Oh
like
man,
when I the trailers for it and everything. I'm like, I had to have it, and of course, at the time, it was just a GameCube exclusive, and I'm like, I had to have it, and I was like, I was really one of the first times I was a proud like gaming moment for me, is because I beat Resident Evil 4. Like I had no help. I didn't use no strategy guides or nothing. I was just like straight.
interesting
I beat
fact
it.
about Resident Evil 4. Did you know it had a hidden difficulty, as in, depending on how well you played, the game would adjust to how you were playing. So if you was doing really bad at the game, it would actually make things like easier, because there was a video I watched online recently. It showed you differences. This person played through playing badly on purpose, and there was less enemies in a certain area. But when he
Oh,
was playing really well, got to an area, there was double the amount of enemies. So
oh,
it would adjust. It had a hidden adjustable difference, because you couldn't choose at the end. You'd have to sort of work your way through it.
I did not know that.
It's
So,
Capcom, they sneak.
I mean, did you have kind of like that moment where like you knew that gaming was something that you were going to stick with playing, like, or did you have like a really pivotal gaming moment like Resident Evil 4 was for me?
Yeah, and it's actually on the same game franchise actually. I had this friend. So after I got the PS1, a few years down the line, I got a PS2. And bear in mind, I hadn't played Resident Evil at this point. I think it was by 2002. And
I
my
think
friend's house used to go to,
I was
and he had a stack of PlayStation 1 games, and he had 1, 2, and 3 Resident Evil. And I was curious because I looked at Resident Evil 3. That's for me the first one I played, and we'd always used to play it together, and I got and delved into this world of horror and survival, and I think that's also what linked me to my horror in general. I just love the idea of in the city and just have to go around. Like I was terrible when I first played, obviously, but I got so into these Resident Evil games, and then I went backwards, and then over the years I started to get into more and more. Like so, yeah, like for you, Resident Evil 4. Um, for me, the Resident Evil 3 was the first one I played, and then I got engulfed into the world of Resident Evil, and over the years, I've got more and more into them. I played nearly every Resident Evil game except from 2, the remake, which I need to play.
I have what's really cool about the PlayStation is they've offered like I have the PlayStation Plus membership and they offer like free games every so often, like every month, 2 games every month, and one of them was the remake of Resident Evil. I'm like, oh, like hopefully like in October coming up, I'm going to like sit down and try to. I have never beat the first one. I've never have, and so
Yeah, the remake of the first one's good. I own it myself, my 360. I don't know if you've played the original on PlayStation 1. It's quite cheesy, the dialogue, so
oh, I've
much better.
like see like I don't consider like when I played it for the first time like moments because I was like I never really considered myself as a gamer or like I'm trying to hard to explain but it's kind of like gaming wasn't as it is now for me, like it was just more like, oh, let's just play some games, but now it's like, oh, I want to continue the story. I want to
Mm.
see how these characters are and like in later installments but when I started playing games like on the PS1 and Sega and stuff, I was just playing to have fun. I mean, like I wasn't like truly sitting down to play them. I was like, oh, let me kill 5 minutes and play. But now it's like, oh, I have a whole day, let me just kill 12 hours. So that's like that's kind of where Resident Evil 4 came in. That was like one of the like first major gaming moments, like I mentioned, where it's like, and probably one of the first real difficult game that I played and beaten.
Yeah.
Because I was like, and I think that was like one of the first true scary games I played too. It's like the whole sequence in the dungeons with the bugs and stuff like that. Like,
Oh yeah.
I was playing this in the dark. Like, I was
That is the correct way to play it. Correct
right.
way.
So I was immersed in this Resident Evil 4 world, and I knew enough about the previous games to where it's like, oh, okay, I can. But I'm like, you don't really need to know too much about the previous games except for like Leon, but um, but I was just like, oh, I just had to have it, and but ever since Resident Evil 4, I really considered myself to be a gamer when that happened. I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but before I always have like pre Resident Evil and post Resident Evil moments. Like pre Resident Evil was just like me and my cousin just staying up all night, just goofing off playing video games, wrestling games. That was kind of my that was my gaming. But then Resident Evil came around, like that's where I started getting into more like story based video games and like more difficult. That's so. Uh, did you always go towards like story based, or was you just like how I was, like, oh, let's play Mario Bros.
Yeah.
For a little while, or
Yeah, I've never see. I'm not really much as an online gamer. I play like League of Legends and stuff online. That's like a completely different ballpark. But if anything I was to do with online is to do with DLC. I'm a DLC man. I was go online to get my DLC. I'm nuts for that.
right,
But I am quite a story-driven person. I'm always drawn to a good story. I think that is what will entice me into a franchise or a gaming series. Like that's how I like in stuff like Resident Evil, Gears of War, Final Fantasy. That's how I've been enticed into this because the storylines are just caught my attention, and I like a lot of dark storylines as well.
right.
Like so, yeah.
Uh,
I think,
so like, what was I know we're kind of talking about our gaming history. Like, what was like your favorite game like now? What have you been playing now? Like, that's like really stuck out to you.
it's actually an oldie, but I'm actually simultaneously playing between Dark Souls, Dragon Age, The Elder Scrolls, and Resident Evil. But I've been playing a bit of Oblivion recently,
Oh, okay.
and as much as I still love the game, when I look at it now, it hasn't aged well. With its dialogue, I don't know if you ever played Oblivion, but its dialogue is
not 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 up to like Oscar caliber. um, Speaking of those kind of games, like, do you like when you get a chance to kind of create your character? Do you kind of make it more heroic, or do you kind of go towards the more goofy?
I have done Goofy. Don't get
Okay.
me wrong. When I create a character on like, especially RPGs or like, or even on Soul Calibur stuff like that, when
Okay.
I create a character, I actually like to think of a story behind the character. So I will spend so much time on creating a character sometimes. If it's a game with a custom character, I warn you, you'll be sitting there for like an hour. I'll be thinking of a name. I'll be thinking of what they look like. I like my character to tell. I like it to have a story, so you know that this character's like being through something. I think that's just like because when I was younger, I wanted to be like a game designer, so I've always got that mindset in my head, even though it didn't really turn out that way. So I think that's the closest thing I'm going to get to doing that. So I
Oh,
just love sitting there making a character, and it's just
well, I totally get it because
mm,
like my favorite games are wrestling games. So when I get to create a wrestler, I will spend between an hour to 3 hours just creating characters because like even though it's just some of the minute details like here in these newer ones where you can like change like the um the, the material of the boots, like, oh, we can have metal boots. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to change the texture of the mask to like something more metallic. It's like, but then you look at it all together, like, no, we'll scrap it and start all over. And so it's like, I totally get that. Like, and when I go with my wrestlers, I kind of want them to look more. I don't really do goofy on my wrestling unless I'm playing with a friend or anything like that. But if it's just me setting up a story mode, I'm like going to make him look like a traditional wrestler. It's like if that makes sense, like make him look like he belongs in the world of wrestling. So, uh, is there any moments in gaming that you really hate? Like we've been talking about all the positives so far. Like, is there like any like moments that you've experienced or that you've witnessed um, while playing, or someone else playing that you kind of just like, oh, this is terrible.
Do you mean terrible as in sad or terrible as in I don't like that?
Both. We'll go with both.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a sad one actually. I don't think I've ever told you on this, but a moment for me when I got sad was actually during playing Gears of War 3. Um, again, most people must play this by now, but it's a spoiler. If you haven't played it, then I feel sorry for you because it's going to get ruined right now. So in Gears of War 3, there's a moment. I don't. Are you familiar with Gears of War at all?
No, I never had an Xbox, so
So there's a character in it called Dom, and he's like your sort of brother in arms as you're fighting this war against these like things that come out from the ground. They're called the Locust. That's just
okay,
a quick thing of what they are. And there's a bit in Gears of War 3 where you're getting surrounded by sort of like parasitic enemies. They're called the Lambent and then the Locust. And then the whole team's getting away. And then Dom decides to stay behind. He jumps down, goes into a fuel tank. And he lost his wife in the second game. And he's talking to this picture of his wife. And he's driving into like a massive like sort of garage with all this fuel tanks everywhere. And he sort of drives into it and it explodes. So the others can get away. And it plays Mad World, an instrumental Mad World, and it
okay.
was used for the first trailer. And I'm sitting there and I'm just I was just like not as sad as when Aerith died in Final Fantasy, but it, I was just like what? Well, I didn't expect it like, but on the trailers it said brothers to the end, and this is not even near the end of the game. This is like just about getting halfway through the game, and when this happens, and I was just like, oh, like I literally sat there for 20 minutes, just like when I was playing after the level after, I was just like, this is weird, like because I played this character by my side who was like your partner, like through the first two games, and then so it was quite a dynamic sort of shift change sort of
Gotcha.
thing. So it switches the game up a bit. You're just like, yeah, I was just kind of lost for words. It was quite and if I'm going to go with terrible moments, as in like, I think as a game in general, like, as much as I love Resident Evil, there's one game that I actually hate from Resident Evil, and a lot of people will probably agree with me, and it's Resident Evil 6 because Resident Evil games are supposed to be survival horror, um, even though some titles are more action, but they still have horror to them. Resident
Right.
Evil 6 for me felt like a Michael Bay movie.
Okay.
It, there wasn't really any horror factor to it. It's just like guns blazing, and I think that's how they drooped down a bit for a while. Resident Evil. They to me it was just I only like playing mercenaries, and the story's naff at best. And I was disappointed by 6 a bit, but then 7 came out and it was all good. And then obviously they're doing well again now because what they're doing now.
For me, I would have to say this is what was it? I would have to say it was Last of Us. Like, do you know anything?
I will be getting that game.
Okay. I'm not gonna spoil it if you haven't but there's a couple moments in the game where it's like at the very beginning where everything is starting to kind of go in like mass chaos and everyone is like just when the affection is starting to really like cause hysteria, and then at like the final moments of the game where the main character has to kind of like make decisions, and it's like, oh, like those are like really powerful moments in just one video game, and like there's others within that game, but just to be bookended by those kind of moments, like, oh wow, that's pretty rough. Like like
It
whoa.
really makes you think, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
those kind of games are one of my absolute favorites. I love a choice game. It really puts you on the spot, like you just explained that. Like I love the idea that you're like sitting there, it's like, what would I do? Like you really got to think about it, and whatever you choose can like drastically change. Like hence that's why I love playing Life is Strange. One of my absolute favorite games. That is why I like that game. That's how I fell in love with Life is Strange. Beautiful story. The choices in it are hard.
See,
I think choice games are the best, honestly. To me, they're the best kind of games you can play.
I have Life is Strange and Before the Storm. I've
Oh, lucky you. Do you know how
I,
badly I want to play that?
I haven't yet to play them yet, but I got the first one. I got Life is Strange for free during those like 2 game a month PlayStation Plus membership, and then I'm like,
All the episodes, I'm guessing. Okay.
yeah, and then I was at my local used DVD video game store, and I seen Before the Storm. It was like super cheap, and like buying it, like, because I know I'll eventually get to it, but like once I know I worked through the first one, I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to want to play the rest of the story, so I might as well just kind of stock
The
up.
girl, the girl who plays Chloe in Life is Strange. She actually voices the character in Event. Is it Horizon, that PlayStation 4 game? That hunting one, Zero Dawn or something, whatever it's called.
Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, she voices the girl in that. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I heard her voice in that game, I was just like, I know that voice. Like, so I looked up the cat and I was just like, I knew it. I knew it. She was in Life is Strange. So evidently, I started to like that. Watch my mate play that because of the actress. So
Now for terrible, I can't really think of one at the top of my head. Um, I think in terms of just being like kind of overly let down is probably um, going back to the wrestling is WWE 2K16, I think, 15 or 16. One of them, it was so stripped down. It was like there was really truly nothing to do in the game. It's like
is
you know,
that the one that had Batista on the front?
I can't remember. It was either the rock. Yeah, it was like one of. I think it was one of the ones where right when 2K just got the license for the wrestling games. So I
Yeah.
think it was 15. So it was just kind of like, oh, okay. I just need to. You guys need to improve this, or I'm not going to buy the next year's edition. And so, like, but that was probably my biggest letdown. Like terrible, but like, you have a game that has just like it was so good, and then at the end it was like kind of a letdown where it's like, I don't need to play this ever again, or
Yeah. Well, they remove something, you don't understand why, and then they end up putting it back in the next one. You're just like,
right. And that's kind of how I felt with the wrestling game, with that first initial one with on like the 2K series. Like it just didn't feel like a wrestling game, even though it had all the stuff there. It just didn't feel like it. Like compared to the later installments, like, oh, this feels like a wrestling game, because I love them now, but just like that first initial one or two on the 2K series. It just was, it was terrible.
Yeah, I think that's the thing a lot of games can worry about. That was like me with the Halo series. Like I love Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition because that was done by 343 Studios, not Bungie anymore. That was okay because it was still single gameplay. Like the mechanics were the same, graphics were just better. And then they made Halo 4, and online, I'm going to say was cancerous because I did play that online, and it was just the players are so cancerous. They would just, I think they would just noob tube certain weapons, and always be in corridors, and their beauty get thinking they're so good, and I just I just thought they're very cancerous, some of the players, and it was just like just, I just didn't like a lot of the players. It's just like, what is going on here? Just using the one weapon, I think it was the DMR. It's supposed to be a battle rifle, but I call it a battle rifle. That's what it's supposed to be. And it was just like a short burst weapon. It was just like annihilate your shield straight away. That's all they ever used. And while I'm running around like picking up explosives and just launching them everywhere, just like having fun with it. And they're just very salty players if you kill them with something that ain't a DMR. It's just like, well, obviously the wrong kind of game you're playing then, dude.
um, like going back to what you were talking about, is there like DLC? Was there any specific DLC that you absolutely loved, and then like DLC that was like this was like totally a cash grab that didn't even like really amount to anything?
Oh, all right. Let's go with the cash grab at first. So I played the remake of the Tomb Raider made by Square Enix. Love
Okay.
that game. I got a DLC called The Lost Temple for I think it was $2.99, and it said added a new area, right? So I travelled to this new area, and literally I'd done it in 5 minutes. Got nothing really out of it. You get some salvageable items, nothing really worth mentioning. And by that point, I didn't really need anything, and I just thought it was a total waste of my money. Of
Right.
And I was kind of let down, like not majorly. It's just like I felt like it was a bit pointless spending it. Like it said a new area, I was like, oh, I thought it'd be like a nice little expansive area, not too big, but moderately nice. And I'd done it in 5 minutes. Like, what was that?
Oh, I get that.
Yeah,
I
and
understand that all too well.
and a
Sorry, I'm making
DLC.
a game.
A DLC that I really love. Well, I love and hate because I'm working getting. I need one more DLC for my Dark Souls 2. I got two. One of them I'm stuck on, and so I've gotten pretty good at the game. I've got good, as they say in the sort of quotations that people say about these games. I was doing fine with the majority of the bosses, and I can win the game of Dark Souls 2, but there's a certain boss on that game from the DLC of I think it's called Crown of the Old Iron King, I believe it's called, and there's a boss called the Fume Knight. And I've looked up so much how to do this boss, right? This boss has a ridiculous hitbox. It has an ultra great sword. It has a great sword. Its second phase and can like half hit your health, no matter how much health you have. It has no known weaknesses. So like the best thing you can do is buff up your weapons before the fight. Obviously, when you summon phantoms in a game, you get double the amount of health. And I've gotten that close to its health before, and I keep on dying and dying, and I just want to get a gold pass so I can get like some players to help me out of it. But it is so much harder than any of the bosses in the actual standalone game. And it's just, my God, like I have tried and tried, but it is.
I
Oh,
For me, I think I have two DLCs that I absolutely love. I think it was worth the time was Undead Nightmare for Red Dead,
hmm.
the zombie extension, like the and what was the other one? Oh, and going back to The Last of Us was I can't can't think of the actual title of it, but it's like you play as Ellie, the
I
girl,
didn't
and
know you had DLC for that.
what?
I didn't know there was DLC for that game actually.
Well, it's like once you if you buy on the PS4, it's all bundled together. So it's like, but when it came out on the PS3, it kind of had you had to buy it separately.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank on the title, but you learn so much about the Ellie, the girl in the game, and as well as it kind of fills in some holes during the actual main narrative of the full game, like how she manages to do this, and it fills so much in. And it's like, oh, this was so satisfying. It was so worth the. I think it was only like $10, and it was like I felt like it was worth the $10. Like I've bought movies for like $30 that has got me was like shorter runtime than the what I've got to play in this new in that DLC that felt more worth the money. It's like I was like I think those two are my favorite, and the one that was a complete and utter letdown was like I can't believe I spent the money on this. It was kind of it was not really DLC per se, but it was Shark Card on Grand Theft Auto, where you spend actual money to buy fake money for the game. And I just because I really wanted like a specific car on there, just because it was just like, oh, that would be pretty cool to have. I'm like, I'm not going to spend hours and hours grinding to get in fake money, so when I can just spend like $5 to get what I want. So I'm like, that's probably the one deal. That's the one time I spent money on a game that I probably like felt like I probably shouldn't have in the long run. It's like, and I don't even play Grand Theft Auto all that much anymore. I even updated it here lately just so I could go play in the casino, and I'm like, I'm good. Like I spent more. I literally spent more time re-downloading the game and updating it than I was actually in the online portion of. I'm like, well, this was totally worth it.
No reward is worth this.
Right. Uh, um. Do you have like we kind of going back even further? Like, do you have like a really a top tier gaming moment that really like made you proud to be a gamer? Like a game you've beaten, or like just like like or something along the lines of that.
I do have a recent one. I even posted about it on Facebook. I don't have others, but I think one of the most recent ones that I'm proud of is the first Dark Souls because I find it extremely more hard than the second one. And there's a duo boss called Ornstein and Smell, and these couple of arseholes, you you have to fight at the same time. Um, Not only that, as soon as you sort of enter through the fog gate, one of them sort of just lunges at you, and it is impossible to parry or block. So you kind of have to roll as soon as you go in, and so it's all right. It's easy to do with a phantom. So I summon Solaire, and these two like so if you don't have another person with you, the bosses will both go for you at the same time. So if you have someone with you, it will take a bit of the aggro off. And these two lovely things that fight you, like, right, so it's bad enough you kill one of them, and it doesn't matter how much damage you've done to one, the other one will buff itself up. So if you kill Ornstein, he ends up getting the electric ability and slam electrical attacks on you, and he grows bigger. If you kill the other one, he gets electrical damage and smacks like a train. So these two will kill me for months and months and months. And they're just like I found out a lot of players said at that point in the game is where you got to get good. Like you got to be patient, take your time, and I wasn't really doing that at first, was I? And then after months of them brutally and like I found out a lot of people who the veteran Dark Souls players called them casuals have given up at those bosses and just played it. And then one day I did about two tries. I went to my third one and I was just like, and then I started using little advantages like using one of them to get caught in a pillar, and then I'd slowly chip away at the health. And when I was getting to that much, the sweat that was falling from me, like, and when I landed that blow, mind you, this hammer was about to smack at me when I decided to lunge in, just caught it in midair, and then it started to evaporate, and it said Victor Chief. I kind of just put the controller there, and I was just like, hey. And then I went upstairs. I got the ability to fast travel between bonfires because in the first one you need to do them to get the Lord's vessel to actually be able to travel through the different bonfires you've activated. Otherwise, you have to walk there. In the second and third game, you could travel. And I sat there, and I must have rolled the biggest cigarette in my life. And I had to post some photos. It's like, oh my god, I just beat Ornstein's Smell. It got a few likes. I think it got about 12 likes. He was one of them as well, I believe.
Oh.
And oh my god, I sat there and I just couldn't believe I've actually done it. Like I was just like, how? And I always think I question, would I be able to do it with another character now? Like, but I feel like it's one of those games like it will punish you. It's not a friendly game, and when you do something like that game, you feel really rewarded. So I had my victory cigarette. I think I grabbed a cold one out the fridge, and I didn't progress for like 10 or 20 minutes. I was sitting there, just basking in the glory of what I'd done. Like considered one of the most hardest bosses in the whole of the series. I think it's in the top five, and I just couldn't believe my luck. Like I had such an adrenaline rush on that. It was so good.
Mine was on the PS3 when Metal Gear Solid 4 came out. I think this is my favorite. This is my favorite gaming moment. Is
Hmm.
because I got up super early, went and got the game from Walmart. I had to drive 15 minutes to go get this game. Drove home, downloaded it, played it, and I didn't stop playing it. I beat it in one sitting. So that was my favorite, just because like that was just one of the few games that has really been like I cannot stop playing it. Like I had to continue and continue and continue to the end, and it was just I had so much fun playing it that first time around. And like I'm not used to those kind of games, so like when it came out, I was like, this intrigued me to no end because I've only beaten Metal Gear Solid 2. I never beat 1 or 3. So I knew the general feel of the game, and so like, but I just for some reason I just could not stop playing 4 because me and my cousin we beat 2 together, but this is like the first official time where I beat Metal Gear Solid on my own from start to finish in one sitting, and I'm like, this was just like so much fun. And then kind of like a side moment is like when I platinumed Red Dead Redemption, the first one. And I'm like, that just makes me happy.
It's
That's
in platinum is where you get every other achievement, right?
right. Yeah, so like I was so happy. I like it's like when I look at my trophy list, I'm like, that's a platinum. It's like I'm proud of that one. It's like I spent a lot of time on that, and so, but the thing is, it didn't feel what's it called. It just didn't feel like it was um hard. And like it wasn't hard. I mean, it didn't feel like it was a work to get to it. It was like I enjoyed getting all the trophies, even though it took a long time, but it didn't feel like a chore. So it was like, oh, this was like a well deserved platinum. Even though I had to kind of cheat on a couple online trophies because no one was playing online at that point, and so I had to ask my cousin for help a little bit. But those are the only two that. But I don't consider I hate online trophies or achievements with a passion. It,
Yeah,
it takes
you look at your achievements list, and then there'll be those two you need to unlock. It's like, fuck.
right. Like there has been plenty of games where I've stopped, where I will not go for the platinum because of the online trophies. Like it ruins the experience in my hand. Like because you have to do all this. Like I would have platinum Grand Theft Auto twice, like one on the PS3 and on the PS4, if it wasn't for the online trophies. Like that just totally ruins a game for me. But do you do you go achievement hunting or anything like that?
I think it all depends of how much I would like the game, or depends if I think I can do something, I will go for it.
Okay.
That's my premise. I will try and do it. Like there's been achievements I've tried to do and I've given up because I've died, or like I think there wasn't even one remaster. I was looking at the achievement list and there was one for Incas for Squids, and it's about 80 game score or something like that, or 50, and it's complete the game without using a save.
Oh, okay.
I was doing very well on that. About 2 hours in, a dog jumped on me,
Uh
uh, killed me. No save, no
huh.
burn, no save, no logo. And I was just like, I swear I had a survival item to get the dog off me, and I was just like, really? And like, and it went back to the menu screen. I was just like, no, not trying that again. And
That,
there's one for using a knife only, and I'm just like, Jesus. At least you can save with that one, but I can't imagine hacking like a giant snake with a knife about five. And I think the requirement is at least normal.
okay.
Like, because if you could play on very easy, they'd be like, why should we give you like 50 game score for that? Like,
Right.
so
I'm trying to think. So has there since you're wanting to get a PS4, right? So what games on the PS4 are you looking forward to playing for the first time?
um, I want to get the God of War trilogy remastered because I've always been told about it
Okay.
and it's always intrigued me. So it'd be nice to actually play that, and I think I am going to enjoy these games. I always hear stuff about them because obviously four got released. Um, and I just think there's a lot of JRPG games I want to play, and like Japanese role playing games. So I want to get into them because Xbox don't really have anything like that. If I'm all to God honest with you, and so see, I'm not into this whole console. I get whatever has like games that appeal to me a bit more. Um, yeah, when I do get around to getting the PS4, I want to get stuff like Monster Hunter Worlds. I want to get the new Devil May Cry 5. Obviously, Resi 2 and 7. Um, I'll probably re-get some of the Resident Evil games I got now because of the bundled stuff they got with them straight up when you get them.
Right.
I want to play. I don't know how you pronounce. I think it's near Automata.
Yeah.
Near Automata.
Yeah.
It's a Square Enix game, and I just think that it's like a really cool game, and it's something I dig, and it's my kind of thing up the street. So I want to get that. Been wanting to play that. I've seen my friend play it. It's really cool looking. So I don't know how to class that game. It's maybe sci-fi-esque with a bit of mystery. So I kind of like it. And I believe is it an android? The character is she's an android or something
And what?
in Near Automata.
I think so. I'm not quite
Yeah.
sure, but I think you're right on that. Well, of course,
Oh,
Last of well, right?
yeah. It
But,
reminds me of like Ghost in the Shell mixed with Blade Runner or something. That's kind of
right.
what it makes me think of. Yeah. So I'm quite interested by that, and I love Blade Runner, and I love Ghost in the Shell. So it's like they had a baby or something, and that's what came out. So I want to play that. And there's something else on the PlayStation 4 that's exclusive.
The new Spider-Man game is exclusive.
Yes, I did that. Actually, that is one of them. Thank you. That is one of them.
Yeah,
That is one of them.
I just beat that one. I platinum that one, and 100% all the DLC as well. And the only thing I got left to do is I just gotta play it through one more time on the hardest difficulty. But like I'm kind of saving that for like a rainy day. You know, like, well, I've ran out of games, which it will never happen. But like, if I need to, like, oh, I haven't played Spider-Man in a while, like, all right, I'll jump back into playing it. So.
Do they do they use the actual voice of Tom Holland for that? I'm
No,
very curious. Oh no, it's just not that because I know you can get the Infinity War like Spider-Man suit or something with that game.
yeah, you can like even like from like Far From Home, like they'll you get them all for free. Like you're getting these like free updates basically. It's pretty cool. Some of the suits are like DLC locked, but for like majority of them, like it, like except for like one, maybe like three or four is all DLC, but majority of them like you get them just through natural progression of the game, so it's really cool. I'm trying to think some other like God of War, like you mentioned, the newest God of War I really liked. It's a big departure from the previous games, even though it is like hack and slash, but it doesn't feel like um, cartoonish. You know, it doesn't have that like. It's a little bit more ground. It's like way grounded in reality. It has a little bit more weight to it, like in terms of like how he moves and stuff like that. Like, he really feels like you're moving, 300-pound muscular man with with a giant axe. You know, it has like it really does feel a little bit more of a weight to the character. I'm trying to think some the Uncharted games. Those are some of my all-time favorites on the PlayStation.
I've been told that's basically like Tomb Raider. Basically, it's like the amount equivalent to a Tomb Raider game.
Yeah, it's. I'm trying to think of how the closest to it. Like it's in terms of like how it feels. I'd say it's close to a Tomb Raider game. But I'm such a huge fan of Naughty Dogs with like Uncharted and what's it called, Last of Us. Like I've rebought all those games. I've rebought the remaster of all the first three Uncharted's, and then the remaster of Last of Us. So I'm like, of course, like these are like my favorite games. If I'm going to double dip and buy the same games I've played a few times over. Um, do you have a game that you've beaten more than any other game?
Oh,
Like the one where you've played it time and time again, like you've beaten it at least four times.
funny enough, Oblivion is one of them.
Oh, really?
As in like main quest wise, I mean, I've literally gone around and done so much in it. And I'm probably going to say how I've been quite. I don't know if I have it now, but um, this is probably an old one. I think it's the Lord of the Rings Two Towers game,
Okay. On the
and that's an old one.
on the PS2.
I
Yeah.
used to like getting the Tower of Isildur mode, or whatever it's called, where you face the waves and waves of orcs, and
Yeah.
just enjoy that.
I had that game. I
Did you ever get the glitch where in the cutscene, I think when you go into the Misty Mountains, Legolas will run to the edge of the cliff and he sort of drops down?
yeah.
He glitch. Oh, maybe it's just me then. Like it was really weird. It's just I don't know. It's just really random. I always used to see it just drops out of the scene.
That's
I
funny.
was like, surely that doesn't happen normally.
No, yeah, that game has been so far along. I mean, it might have happened, but I don't. I've played so many games since then. You know, like that game is like so far at the bottom of the list. of what I remember. Especially with like all the next gen games and like they just keep piling on top of on that one.
Speaking of Lord of the Rings, are you familiar with Shadow of Mordor?
Yep, I beat the first one, and I'm
Yeah,
about to
I'm
start.
getting through my first one properly because that is on my list. The Shadow of War, I believe the second one's called.
And yeah, the Shadow of War I think is the second one, right?
It is a really nice Lord of the Rings game, I think. Well, I know it's taglined as Middle Earth, but it is a Lord of the Rings game. But I think that's probably one of my favorite Lord of the Rings games I've played, except from Lord of the Rings Third Age, because I really enjoyed that because it's kind of like Final Fantasy, the style of how you fight in that. But I really liked Shadow of Mordor, and I'm still getting through it. But see, and I was thinking that if Netflix really want to make a series about a game, then do it with that because I think it would work because I love the story to it. It's like I find it quite dark. I love all these like elite orcs that serve Sauron,
Right.
and it doesn't it fits into the canon because it explains some stuff. Because you find out Sauron was like a forger, and then it does coincide the film where it says he forged the ring, so it doesn't like shove off any canon. It actually goes with it. It's not just made up. It goes in nicely, which I like about it. It's a game that does really well for itself.
Right. Um, I'm trying to think. I got Shadow of War because I really loved Shadow of Mordor, and so I haven't got a chance to play it yet because I'm currently playing The Witcher 3.
That's a series I do need to get into. I believe I can get the first two on 360 at least, so I may get them just to, I will have a go at them.
Right. They had like a recent deal where you can buy like all the DLC and the game like for like $15. I'm like, like I'll get it. Like I've been wanting to try this for such a long time, so I'm enjoying it. It's just taking me a minute just to get used to this particular kind of gaming because I'm so used to like Uncharted and Grand Theft Auto. And
Yeah, tell me about it. When you go to a different kind of game and then you're pressing the wrong buttons and then you end up dying. You're just like, oh.
right, uh, do you have any desire to play like any of the Batman games that are on the PlayStation, like the Arkham game?
Um, yeah, because I think, or is it one of them that's on there? Is it Arkham Knight or something? Because
Yeah,
I played Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. I don't believe Arkham Origin is actually connected because it was made by someone else, I believe.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Arkham Origins was made by Montreal, like WB Montreal or something like that.
hmm.
It wasn't made
I've
by.
been told to skip that one, and I was told to skip it.
I,
Um,
I loved it. I thought it was a really fun one. I
yeah.
really liked it. So like it's definitely not as good as the base three, like Night City and Night, or yeah, Arkham Asylum City and Night. But it's still, I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it. I really did. I mean, there are some real. That one has a lot of the better boss battles, and even though the story is kind of, I really like the story as well. Like, Batman has one night to survive all these assassins. I really like that like aspect of the story, and it just feels it's a fun game. I like that. Like a lot of people think it's like terrible, but I fully enjoyed it. So, we are coming to the end of our podcast. Is there any like last gaming moments or um, history, your official Michael gaming history that you want to just share with us real quick?
Hmm.
Or it can be anything gaming related, or what you're like, how we've been talking about, like what you're really looking forward to in gaming, or all right.
I think
Let me ask.
getting the PS4 finally will be
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this. Okay, what is your most anticipated game coming up, like that you have not yet played? It can be uh, an older game or like a more recent one. Like what one are you like truly looking forward to playing the most?
Um, Again, this is going back to Resident Evil, and I'm gonna try and get involved in this because I think in a month's time, Capcom start they're asking for people to help them with a new Resident Evil title,
Mm.
and so there's a reason why I want to get involved with that. I want to find out what it is. Obviously, with these kind of things, you can't because my uncle he got like a beta testing thing for a Final Fantasy game, and it said on the thing you can't talk about it, you can't leak stuff, you can't. So if I get involved with that kind of thing, do you know how hard that's going to be for me not saying anything? But I like I'm excited. I think I know what it's going to be now because I remember Capcom saying like if two sold really well and did really well with people, they
Right.
would remaster number three. And I have a strong feeling it's going to be that. I could be wrong. It could be a completely new Resident Evil game, but I think I speak for a lot of Resi fans and think hopefully it'll be that because there's mods for Resident Evil 2 where it's got Nemesis instead of the Tyrant, and
Yeah.
I want to see that. I'm enticed by that now. So
Um, as I'm not really familiar with the Resident Evil games per se, as a whole, like is like you've played 1, 2, and 3, right?
yeah,
Okay. Is the remake really good, or really well done for 2?
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I haven't actually got a chance to play it, but obviously I've watched cutscenes and stuff, and I'm really impressed with what they've done. It's stuff makes more sense now. Like they've done stuff where you can explore more things than you couldn't before. There's like a joke saying you can go into the police toilets now that they had no toilets originally. There's like jokes about that. And they've added new stuff where you can actually board up windows. You find wood, you can board up places, so you can hold off areas, and it's stuff like that. And you can shoot off limbs now, and then they like fall on the floor and crawl towards you. Like they just keep inventing this stuff for these games, and I love that you can shoot off limbs now. They like try and get you still, and like there's one particular scene. It's really gory and nice. But, as I say, I love my horror, so I'm gonna love that. There's a bit where it's I think it's a police officer, and he like lifts the head up, and it's just dripping with like this like white stuff you find in blood, and it's just dripping down everywhere. It's just really gory. Like I
Okay.
can imagine Japan, that's going to be slightly censored because they censor sometimes that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Um, like that's probably one of my most anticipated games. Even though I have like a back catalog of video games like to last me a lifetime, but I really do want to play the remake of Resident Evil 2. And then, like you said, I did hear if 2 sold really well, which I think it did. They would do Nemesis, and I'm like, well, I really want to go back and like I kind of wanted to like go back and I don't know what's it called re-experience some of the first game, like the original games, because I have those original. Like I got by a PS3, but I have them on the PS3, the original Resident Evil games, and I've been playing Resident Evil 7, and
there
so
is a prequel, Resident Evil Zero. I don't know if you're aware of that, but
yeah.
that was originally released on the GameCube as well, same time as they remade the first one.
Does that one have like a train in it?
Yeah,
Okay, oh, that's why.
very underrated. I actually do enjoy that one. It's very underrated, unfortunately, but I do enjoy that one.
I played Veronica. I did play that one. So like my history with Resident Evil is kind of like very sporadic. I mean, I started with Resident Evil 4, and I've I'm good ways in the Resident Evil 7, and I'm all over the place with the Resident Evil series. I'm like, but like one of these days where I just need to sit down, start with 1 or 0, and work my way to I've played. The only one I have not really played was 6. That's the only one I've not played. I've played 5. So
Resident Evil Revelations is a really good Resident Evil game. I do
okay,
recommend. It's a good one.
I'll definitely add that to the like. one of these days, like one of these years, like I'm gonna just dedicate like an October to Resident Evil. Like if I'm gonna do maybe take a break from watching horror movies, where I'm just gonna do a whole month of playing horror video games. So that'd be fun. Um, so we have come to the end of our first podcast on the one and only MSJ YouTube channel. Uh, this is probably one of many podcasts about gaming that we're going to be doing. But me and you, if you're new to the channel, me and you love to talk about horror movies. I know October is in a couple months, so I'm gearing up for that month with my list of horror movies. Um, you one last thing, non-gaming related. You have like a set list that you're building for October?
Yeah, I plan to look at. I'm actually going to go online and actually look at some lists. I'm going to look at some horror movies, and I'm going to actually try and get through a month. I want to try and do like a horror movie a day. That's something I haven't done before. Like I want to try and at least get one or two movies in a day. Just
Gotcha.
have a fully fledged month. That'll be something different for me because I heard you do that quite a bit, and I want to do that myself. See what it's like. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have. I want to watch some stuff. Obviously, no, but I want to maybe go something like in the movie I haven't seen the next day, and so on and so on. So that is what I plan to do.
Yeah. I think I'm going in my 8th year of doing it.
Oh,
And so I'm like, this year I've gotten kind of a nice list already started. But then I'll always kind of take them off and then rearrange them and stuff like that. Like, oh, this works better as a theme week rather than just an individual day. So like I'm always constantly revamping my month until midnight October 1st rolls around. That's when my list is truly finalized. And so and even sometimes it gets switched up just due to like a friend at work like, hey, have you seen this? I'm like, no, like you need to watch it. Like, what movie can I replace this with? And like, oh, I've already seen this one, so I can take that one off the list. So, okay, um, thank you, Michael, for doing this podcast with me.
thanks for
Like,
having me.
yeah, like I said, this is just the first of many topics of what we're going to be covering. Like we've already done gaming. Hopefully, we'll do horror. Obviously, we'll do horror. Um, do you read? I never thought.
Yes, I do read.
Okay, cool. So we can do books. Just maybe just kind of like a mishmash one day of a little bit of everything. So hopefully, uh, we'll kind of get more consistent with all this. Like I know our schedules do not align whatsoever. But when we do, it's always a lot of fun. So, as always, my name is Max, uh,
Michael,
Michael, and
that guy.
yeah, that guy. That's it. Like honestly, I don't have an outro catchphrase yet, just because this is all brand new. So hopefully soon I'll have kind of like something as good as I'm going to go geek out kind of thing. So I honestly just keep that. I just because I like that a lot. So Michael, thank you and goodbye.